Hi everyone. So up next, we've got a session with Neil Maiden on an AI tool for the circular economy that he has developed especially for this festival. Neil Maiden is a professor of digital creativity at the Bayes Business School at City University of London, and he's the director of the National Centre for Creativity enabled by AI and funded by Research England. So Neil, show us what you've created.
Thank you, Rumbi. You've managed to take over my entire first slide, so I can launch straight into what we're talking about today. It's lovely to be here at the festival. What I'm going to be talking about is creative thinking about circular design and how AI can help, in particular, how it can help to generate new and useful design ideas that stakeholders can take into the project as a means to generate and make more effective decisions about circular design. The takeaway, because this is a how-to session, is a new online tool that's free for use, and you'll be able to understand how to use it and where to later on, called Design Sparks. And very much in the context of what we heard this morning in the talk on communication, it's very much about citizen empowerment. How do we empower everybody to use a simple form of AI so that they can engage more effectively in the design of circular economies, circular services that they are stakeholders in? So why, if you indulge me for a minute to give a little bit of background before we talk about the technology, why do we need this kind of support for people? Well, if you're going to come up with creative ideas that are new and useful, then the people generating those ideas need to have some domain knowledge. They need to know about the problem. They need to know about the local environment. They need to know about the people involved. And most of that knowledge doesn't come from us, the designers. It comes from those local people in the context, such as this group working in a village in Ireland. It's known to the stakeholders. So they're the people with the knowledge that is needed to come up with the new ideas around a possible new circular design service or product. Now, traditionally, what we've done is we've tended to run workshops, collaborative workshops in which people come together with a facilitator, very much like you can see in this picture. And I've ran many workshops like this, and I've also been a stakeholder, a participant in projects to redesign my local community. But I think there is a question about how people can contribute genuine creative ideas for circular designs in a workshop that may last for an hour or two. Is the workshop facilitation enough? Is the use of post-its enough in order to enable them to be effectively creative and learn about circular design in that time? And more generally, if we're looking at service design or redesign projects in which there may be workshops or other forms of collaborative activity, how can people generate good ideas quickly as stakeholders when they're not experts in circular design? And also they're not particularly expert perhaps in creative problem solving. So where does that know-how about circular design and creative problem solving come from? What we can do, and that's a little bit of academic framing, if you like, because I'm an academic, the evidence suggests that for people to be creative, at least semi-regularly, you need to have three things. The first thing that people need is they need to have intrinsic task motivation. They need to be motivated to solve the problem. And I think most people working on a community project, on a new service in which they have a stake, they have that levels of motivation. The second thing you need is domain expertise. And I think most people do have that knowledge about the problem, the environment, where the sticking or issues are, where there might be opportunities to improve things. Although I've given it a smaller green tick here because they don't have the domain knowledge often about what is circular design. But what most people lack are the essential creative thinking skills, how to solve problems in creative ways. And the reasons for this go back to our education system. It's not part of skilling that we even, I'm an academic, we don't teach enough creative thinking even in universities. So there is a gap there. If we're going to get people to be more creative, how do we give them these creative thinking skills? Now, there are many solutions available to us, but the one I'm going to talk about today is the use of AI. Now, I don't want you to switch off here. This is not a talk about GPT-3, but we argue, and we've demonstrated in a number of sectors beyond design, that AI can step in and provide the creative thinking skills that people need to be effective quickly and in very useful ways. It can be useful in this context for giving creative thinking in the form of codified creative thinking techniques. So what we have done is we've looked at how you solve problems creatively, and we've codified it so it's embedded in the machine. So the machine becomes a bit like your creative coach in the pocket if it's running on your mobile device. And what we've also done now, through work with the Design Council and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, is embed some knowledge about circular economies and circular design into these techniques. So the AI knows about how to solve problems creatively, and it knows about how it might do it for circular design. Now, I'm sure that many of you are going, oh, AI, it's going to take me out of the loop as a human being. It may actually sort of lead to potentially stealing my job. And what you can see here on the left is an advert that we were running in my business school based on our work, which was on the London Underground in September for a couple of weeks. And it starts like this, but if I then run it, from potential to steal your job, we argue that AI has the potential to boost your creative thinking. And we've been doing this work for about 10 years, and we've got lots of evidence that it can boost your creative thinking in sectors from manufacturing to journalism. It's not all about replacement. It's about augmentation. It's about assistance. It's about improving. And our product to do this, which I'm going to present to you here today, is a product called Design Sparks. So Design Sparks is being designed for everybody to use in simple ways in order to think more creatively about circular design problems. So let's now get to the how-to. Hopefully I've given you the basics of why we're doing this. So Design Sparks is a web application, which means it can run both on your mobile device and it can run on a desktop or a tablet. And I'm going to show it first of all in mobile form, as you can see here. And it's accessible via the URL that you can see on the left-hand side. I would suggest you first watch this demonstration of how it works before you rush off and try it yourselves, but we do encourage you to rush off and try it yourselves. So what I'm going to do is run a demo where a local community might be thinking about new play spaces for children and families in that community. So the community that's maybe dominated by cars and other kinds of traffic, which makes it difficult for children to play and families to socialize in the neighborhood. So let me just start the demonstration here. And what you can see is that we've got sort of basic information about the app at the top, infinite ideas, limitless creativity. And then you can see here that there are different ways in which you can tell the app about your design problem. You could upload a PDF, or you could enter a URL. And what I'm going to do to start with, to keep it simpler here, is to allow myself to type in some text that I pre-prepared. So I'm simply going to copy in some text. And here it is. It's talking about the challenge I've just outlined, a local community seeking to increase the number of shared spaces to bring residents together, looking to close off streets, new play spaces, provide exciting new games and activities. Now, once I've typed that in, and it doesn't need to be that long, I press the Generate Sparks button, and the tool is automatically generating spaces of possibilities for you to generate new ideas, which it frames as questions. Now, you can think about these as creative nudges that the tool is generating based on what you've typed in and what it knows about creative thinking. There's no circular design coming yet. That will come in a short while. So you can see these questions. I can browse. I can ask it to refresh, and it presents new sets of 5. Work on the new play spaces. How might your design go on for longer without interventions? On the shared spaces, how should your design be more youthful? In this technique, it's directing you towards qualities that are associated with more creative outcomes. You can actually be quite predictive about creativity. And I might like that idea. I can bookmark it. I can also press the funny little robot head, and the tool will then come up with some answers to that question. So it's framed an interesting question about design going on for longer without interventions. And then it's coming up with possible design ideas that you can explore here. I can again bookmark them. I could sort of show more possibilities, more 3. Now, at the top here, we have different techniques. And what we found is that different techniques work for different contexts and they work for different people. People tend to have different creative identities and different ways of thinking. Here's another one called different perspectives that tends to look at the challenge or a theme in it from different perspectives. Again, it's presenting all of this as questions and nudging you through. Again, there's ones I can bookmark, and I'll be coming back to these later. Backwards forwards is a technique that sort of goes backwards a little bit, and the tool is generating what might be the possible reasons for the challenges. And I say we can sort of explore these in the same ways that I've been showing before. Now, up the top here, you'll notice there's a little settings button. Now, in response to what Bunmi said at the beginning, we've done some extra work here to add some circular design knowledge. So when I switch this on, the last 3 sparks in every 5 are actually more specific to circular design solutions. So we've taken knowledge that's been shared by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and reviewed. And now this tool is generating questions that are pushing you towards ideas that are consistent with good practices in circular design. So how might this design encourage more disclosure of information to everyone about how it's circular? And then I can sort of press the ideas button and it will come up with some answers that suggest how we might disclose the information. Interactive digital screens around the play areas, some augmented reality elements on my phone, integration of educational signage and so on. If I don't think those ideas are doing it for me, because I'm always got the user in control, that's very important in creative thinking and AI, I can press the button again and the tool will go again. And again, I can explore via other techniques here. I'm able to create a constraint removal as a bit more of the classic out-of-the-box thinking. It's about reimagining the space, reframing the space. So here you'll notice the tool is trying to be a little bit more out of the box and wacky, and it's going to come up with design solutions such as here, a circular park in the center of the community, self-driving pods to help people around, and even an immersive virtual reality experience within the circular community, which enhances their experiences. And that's not to say that your stakeholders in your community have to choose these, but these are ideas that are there to nudge them and prompt them to think about ideas that they may not have thought of because they don't have the knowledge either about circular design or about creative problem solving. So there is a first version of the tool running in the mobile mode. So what I want to do now is jump on and say, well, I can describe the problem in simple textual form, but what happens if I've got more information about it? So let's imagine we've done some work here and we've identified this fascinating design for play report. Now, it's actually quite a long report here. It's about 100 pages. I'm just running through it here, which talks about solutions and ideas for creating new play spaces in England, or sorry, in the UK. And as you can see, as I go through here, I'm just showing you the amount of content. Now, if a stakeholder was to prepare for a workshop or some kind of circular design activity, he or she may be required to read that in advance in order to come at least semi-prepared to a local community event or even to share ideas online. That is a barrier to creative thinking. So what we've also done is design sparks to be able to make sense of these using digital technologies. So this time I'm going to use the upload PDF function, and you'll see I'm going to upload that file from my desktop. And the tool is now reading it and trying to make sense of it. Our algorithms are essentially trying to work out what are the key themes and how do they relate to the challenge. And if I then click Generate Sparks, again, just like before, this time it'll come up with different topics. Now you'll notice the extracted topics bar here, which I'm just clicking on. It's actually pulled out some of the authors of the report. So this is not relevant to our thinking. It doesn't know the difference between someone who's important in your local community and the author of the report. So this is a game where user control is absolutely critical. So what I can actually do is control, and maybe I'll say, okay, give me a random selection of 25 themes from this rather than just the top 5. It'll come up with themes that we may be able then to generate more interesting sparks about. As a user, I can simply knock these out and then close this topics bar. And again, the tool is then generating sparks about the parks, organizations, practical experiences, communities, people's involvement, and so on. These are themes that are extracted as relevant from the document, so you don't have to read it. And based on that, you've again got the same kinds of questions that are triggering you to think about or creative qualities of designs and creative qualities of designs that are circular in some way. So again, I can prompt through these. Sometimes the questions are deliberately provocative, but let's hone in on this one, hone in on the parks. How can your design lead to reductions of natural resources? That seems to be relevant here. Again, the tool is taking me quickly into a space of renewable energy sources, water harvesting systems for rainwater and so on. Now, it's possible that the stakeholders know about these, but it's also possible that they don't. If that kind of technique's not working for them, the user can simply choose another technique, which is perhaps working more effectively for them. Again, even sort of, recycling elements of the local government association. Slightly quirky wording, but sometimes it's that sort of nonsense question that gets people to think out of the box. How might we eliminate any packaging from organizations? Let's explore what the tool does on this. Comes up with sort of a digital version of the play guide here, rather than sort of having to produce it on paper and so on. So hopefully you can see it's nudging you into creative spaces that you might not have got to very quickly without the tool's support. Again, I'm sort of pushing down, could the underlying problem be a lack of funding and resources to develop and maintain play spaces? Well, perhaps we can go there, create partnerships with local businesses. I can tag all of these ideas and so on and so on, and then show more possibilities. And I can run through this again. So I think you're getting the sense of this. I'm becoming slightly repetitive here, but I'm trying to sort of reinforce this idea that the tool is able to generate questions and then drill down. Now, of course, what I've done here is I've used the tool at the moment to pull out lots of themes from a report, but I might want to go completely the other way and narrow it down just to one topic that's really important to me. So the most significant topic in the report is good design. I can actually change that and maybe just make it family. So let's focus on families. I really just want to focus on families. I'll knock out good design. So I've got complete control over where the algorithms are pushing me. And then it's asking sort of questions, for example, concentrate on the families. How could your design to be perceived more beautiful for them? Could change behavior with the families, think about the families so they acknowledge full value and so on. Now, as you've noticed, I've been going through the tool. I've been tagging various ideas, and they're not completely lost. I can go into my little bookmarks, and here are all the ideas and the sparks that I marked. And we enable you not to lose them, but to be able to copy them out of your clipboard very easily. And so you can then put them into an email. You could put them into, if you use Miro or Mural, or just put them on your phone and email them to friends and colleagues. There's all of those functions are available. So as I've said, this is Design Sparks. I've ran through it very quickly. I've tried to show it in different forms. I haven't shown it running with URLs, but you can also upload relevant websites, and we've experimented with that so far. Some of you might also be familiar with the systemic design approach of the Design Council, who are our hosts this week in this festival. And they talk very much about what is called the double diamond of the design process, that you first explore the problem, reframe it, and then you create possible solutions and catalyze towards a design solution. And although we've not set up Design Sparks to support that kind of process at the moment, the techniques within it can support it. So it depends on people's reactions. So for example, the backwards forwards technique that I showed, where the tool generates possible underlying causes for the challenges that you've typed in, then that can support the exploration phase. When it comes to reframing, sort of removing the boundaries of the problem and looking at it from different perspectives, the constraint removal technique that you saw in one of the tabs is also available to do that. And then the creativity triggers, which is the technique that pushes you towards repeating qualities associated with more novel and useful ideas across different sectors, that could be used for the create part. So it is possible for us to configure a version of Design Spark so it is entirely consistent with some aspects of the Design Council's approach to systemic design. So this is a how-to session. It's not an academic lecture and it's not a tools pitch for sales. I would like you hopefully to access Design Sparks. It is free. You don't even have to create a user account at the moment, and you can access it from the URL, which I am repeating here. The current version of the tool has 5 techniques in it, but we will be extending that up to 8 techniques by the end of the year. So we're making it richer, and each of those techniques supports different approaches to creative thinking, both generally and circular design. We're very much in the mode at the moment about putting the tool out there. It's been used by different kinds of communities, by business communities. It's been used by a large German white goods manufacturer in their product development section. So we're looking for you to give us feedback, because we want to learn about circular design and about how well these techniques can work for you in this kind of collaborative AI form. You may be wondering who we are, so I'll just talk a little bit more about us just to finish off here. We are from something called CBAE, which is the Center for Creativity Enabled by AI, and we are trying to exploit AI and deliver it in usable forms that people can exploit in different work and life settings without having to go into GPT and create prompts and so on. Our technology is much more than GPT and large language models. Our aim ultimately is to give people creativity on demand. You don't have to wait for a workshop to be facilitated and the facilitator to come in. It's about giving you the power to be creative when you need it. And we're doing that in sectors from business to sports coaching to social care and so on. And we do this through not only the tool that you've seen today, but other tools, AI-powered workshops, and even other kinds of AI algorithms that can undertake deep dives into your information assets, such as reports and so on. So contact us if you want to know more via our website and email at info@designsparks.io. And my aim there was to try and free up about 5 minutes for any comments and questions if people have them. And I haven't been looking in the sidebar, so I don't know if there are interesting questions or comments that people might have.
Thank you so much for that, Neil. That was an excellent demonstration of the app. I myself can certainly see how I could use it in my role in architectural design. I'm going to start off with a quick question I have before I go on to questions in the Q&A. So yes, my background is in architecture, and I'm just wondering how, with the rise of AI and particularly apps like what you've just demonstrated, what does it mean for my role or for architects' role in industry? Because if apps like this can essentially do the entire concept design stage, why would a client want to pay, I don't know, thousands of pounds for an architect to sit down and just and do it? Do you see what I mean? If just going on this app can mean they can generate a whole concept design. Are you following?
Yeah, no, I understand. I think there's a sort of still a jump between this tool, which is quite divergent. It's trying to support divergent thinking and making sure that the designer and the stakeholders, the clients, look at the brief in as wide a perspective as possible, so nothing is missed. And I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I still think in terms of what technology can do, it's quite a jump to then sort of automate out designers from it. Machines can only reason with information and data that they have access to, and we human beings have so much more knowledge about the world generally, as well as when we visit the site in which you may be thinking to build the house or the office block or the school or whatever it is, that the machine can never fully replace that. I'm very much a supporter of what is called human-centered AI. So we tend to sort of sometimes use the term the human in the loop. And it sort of suggests that AI is dominant and we put the person in some way so that they're subservient to the AI. Human-centered AI is about putting AI in the loop around us. And it's about sort of demonstrating, hopefully through tools like this, that we can ensure that the professional, the stakeholder, the citizen, the client remains the dominant party in all of this.
Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. It's all about the quality of the input as well. So
I think it is. It's also about, I think, productivity as well. I think one of the interesting results we found, certainly with Design Sparks, is that people using it tell us that they come up with creative ideas. Those ideas are not ideas that they may not have thought of themselves, but they're certainly coming up with them a lot quicker.
yeah.
So we're actually helping to make projects realizable more quickly. And I think that helps to at least keep costs down because we're having shorter phases of projects, so the costs are lower.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So hopefully my job is safe for now.
Oh, it is. It is. I can never automate you.
Okay, I'll just jump onto some of the Q&A questions. So the first one is, as creative thinking is lacking in education, are there active campaigns to bring AI into schools to bridge the gap and tap into the minds of adults of tomorrow?
That's a very good question. And I have to be honest, sitting here, I don't have a concrete answer. I suspect that there should be. The emergence of ChatGPT before Christmas last year was both an opportunity and a curse for those who have been working in the sector for some time. But what it has done is, I think, put into the minds of the public at large that these technologies do exist and they are accessible. So I would suspect that there are initiatives taking place, but it's still early days. That's the main challenge. That we're really only 9 months on from the emergence of GPT-3 via ChatGPT into the public domain. I can only speak from ourselves at the university. We're still trying to come to terms with what GPT means in terms of students writing essays, doing work that they would normally do without AI, that we now recognize they are using AI. And we are now just redesigning our assessments. So I would imagine similar activities happening at the school levels. Ultimately, I think it's a good thing. There's many studies that have shown that certainly many of the Western education systems squeezes creative ability out of people as they go through the school system. So if it's a means of offsetting that and trying to reverse it, I think it's a good thing, as long as the technology is designed in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's very crucial. I completely agree. We'll just finish off with one more question. Can the application make suggestions for visual input into your projects, e.g., suggest shape changes and color changes for brand or products that best fit with our goals?
That's a very good question. It's something that we're talking about internally because obviously there are AI technologies that are able to manipulate images. We have so far tended to work with language because that is the common denominator in the creative process. It's how information is communicated verbally and in writing in many cases early on. But if we find there is demand for this, we can certainly extend the tool to be able to generate visual outputs that have three-dimensional representations in them. It all comes down to the demand, and I would suggest you reach out to us at the email address that's on this screen in order to do that.
Okay, that's great. And I think we'll finish here. Thank you so much, everyone who's popped your questions into the Q&A tab. Apologies we didn't get through all of them. But yes, like Neil said, you can contact him on the email at the bottom of this slide. So yes, thank you so much, Neil.
Pleasure.
And
I enjoyed it.